Good morning and welcome back to Life's Wealth Radio, and I appreciate your time, so I'll get right to this introduction. This is an episode that I talk with my friend Bryan Forsythe about all the things that enter our minds. It's kind of a random event, something just to use what we've learned throughout the week, or discuss ideas with each other and record it so that we can use it in the future, and possibly somebody else that could be listening now, you find something that's useful to you as well. But we jump around a lot. It's just two guys talking, like I said. I hope you enjoy the various side roads we go down, and mostly I think I enjoy picking out different things in his brain. He's a very creative person, and I can pick a lot out of there. So Bryan is the author of a book called Cracking the Depression Code. He's also an artist, a sailor, and a new father. He writes poems, plays guitars, and also the piano, plus many other instruments. So hope you enjoyed this episode, and a new interview will be posted on Sunday night. Have a great day.
So I'm really good with setting goals like that, right?
Yeah.
But like setting goals where I'm like, 3 months down the road, this is the goal, and these are the steps that I'm taking to get to that goal. I am just not doing that.
Too far down.
I've got this. Yeah, I don't know whether it's too far down or whether it's. I literally feel like, there might be something wrong with my brain because, I'll tell people that, I'm like, this is how you do it. This is step by steps, actionable steps, trackable steps, etc. But I don't have anything written down. I don't have a journal that I'm like, so far the only thing I've done consistently is run every day and, take care of my baby and do like this writing exercise that takes maybe 15 minutes or so. And that just leaves me feeling like a doofus because, I know that you're not going to get anything done without, actual goals written down.
Yeah.
This is what the steps are. I mean, I don't know. It's really.
Well, what do you think? Yesterday, actually, I was listening to a Tony Robbins podcast. It wasn't Tony Robbins that was talking, but his guests were talking. And let me see if I can find his guest name here. Let's see. His guest name's Dr. Gerald Jampowski and Diane Spirinosone or something like that. And I'll put those names in the show notes that I make out of this. But guess what they said? They said they got tired of always holding themselves to goals like that. So they felt they kept setting themselves up for basically I don't think they said failure, but kind of defeat because, like you say, 3 months out, you don't have any clue what's going to be happening in 3 months. Kind of what's what's on the schedule for 3 months from now, but you don't actually know what's going to happen tomorrow. So when you set your plan out and then life continues to happen, each time that happens, you get a little more punched in the face, or whatever. You get a little more discouraged or however. So what they started to do and teach people is, instead of making those goals like that, then make your goal, if you need a goal or you want a goal, then make a goal of living and loving everyone you can. Loving people, living in a sense of loving kindness and helping people. Right? That's your goal every day, help people. And then all the other things you want to do, you can set as intentions for the future. Right? And then you say, write a book. That's your intention. And so you just set that aside. You work every day on helping other people. and then work on your intentions as they come, I guess. What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, that's certainly freeing from, the goal idea. There's a picture of what they call the product cycle. And when you have a product or an idea and you want to see whether or not, like what you need to do to sell it or to market it, there are a couple of things you have to look at. One of them is where the customer is in the product cycle. And like it starts out and the customer has no idea about your product. And then you move forward in time and now they have an idea of what the product is, that it's out there. And then at some point they fully understand the idea. There's, possibly multiple instances of the idea. They're fully cultured in, what the product is, its value. At that point you have to, and for each one of the steps, each one of the places, you have to tailor your marketing message to where they are in the product cycle, their level of understanding and appreciation for, the value and the, value proposition. So if you look at me or someone like me as a point on that product cycle, I am inundated, cultured, like immersed in all of the different concepts of goal setting and list building and, personal development. I am like the most educated guy on that spectrum. And so it's really hard at this point to break that,
Break.
So I'm fully aware that I don't do any of the things that, considering how much knowledge I have, you would think I would do naturally.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's really hard to not want to do that because that makes sense to me, and if I don't feel like I'm moving forward, we talked about earlier, if I'm exercising every day is an indicator of my state of mind. And if I'm moving forward and feel like I have a sense of progression, then, that's also an indicator of my state of mind and is directly related to my state.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So I don't know. I'm like, what do? Do you have a set goal type thing? You have like, okay, this is what I'm working towards, and these are the steps I'm going to get to.
With what I'm doing business wise now.
Yeah.
Actually, I stopped doing that because of and this was before I only heard that other thing yesterday. But what I kept doing to myself was very similar, so that's why I'm glad I heard that. And also, okay, so what I've been doing lately, I've been finding things that I can be consistent on, and then I do those, right? So this being one of them, the podcast or the interview process. I was being consistent, and then I went on vacation, and that threw me off, and then I had a big shift in that. But anyways, long story short, all that happened, kept me kind of thinking of that. I've been on ships a lot lately, so it's, a lot of those things I can't commit to anything, which is why I was thinking of the goal thing. Anyways, so what I do, I write in my book all the stuff that's in my head with a little box next to it. It's a check mark. but with no, here, I'm not going to get this done by tomorrow or today or anything. I just write it down, and every chance I get, say, based on my priorities, which priorities are my family, and I have to have the Navy as a priority, which you know.
Right.
So it's my family and Navy priority, so that comes first, my health second, and then when those are done, if there's nothing to do in that area, then I pull out my list of things to do, and I just start knocking stuff out, which most of those have to do with building Life's Wealth Development Group. Like now I finally have a basic business plan of what Life's Wealth Development Group will do. I mean, it's a rough draft, but it's, you know, it starts getting me into that area. So that helps me to know what I want to work on.
Mm-hmm.
I shifted from, I had podcasts on Podbean. Well, one of my things was to cancel Podbean because I was paying $10 a month for it, which didn't make any sense because I wasn't having any return on it. So I switched it all over to YouTube. So now all these interviews are just going to go on YouTube, where I don't have to pay for it. People still have access to them.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even more people, for all I know. But those are some things on my list, you know, other things that I get to take all my speeches that I've given and compile them into a big master speech, if you want to call it that, keynote speech. And then in that keynote speech, I'll be able to, it'll be modular, so I can pull other pieces, I can pull it out. You know, if you would call me and say, could you give a speech about bullying or something, I want to have a piece in there about that, so I could just pull that out and then kind of go through that. Does that make sense, what I'm saying there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, so I got other people I want to interview on my list. I got words like psychology of transition. And I asked for help, my speech, to a guy named John Richardson, who is a author. He has about 5 books that he wrote, kind of mystery novels. And he likes to help people with speeches. That's one of his things, is branding. And so he's in the group that I'm in. There's 4 of us that meet once a month. I say, could you help me with all these speeches? I haven't heard back from him because I think he's at a writing conference this weekend or something. That's on my list too, you know. All those
right.
Kind of, and so for me, as I do them, I get a lot of satisfaction out of just coloring in that little box and moving on, you know. But I don't stress over it either. None of this stuff that's on this list is a make or break, because it has to come second or third to life to me now, because once I put it first, I become very discouraged, and I get mucked down into the mud of it, and it doesn't become fun, and I just don't want to do it anymore.
Right. Yes.
Certainly want to do it because it is my passion, but I know that my passion can get overwhelmed by life. So that's kind of where I went with that, and I was very happy to hear that yesterday about how he said, that they basically, their goal in life is to be helpful to other people, to love other people, and all the other stuff is just their intentions. They intend, and they're very successful, you know. Another one I listened to was Al Fusselman. Other kind of the same kind of philosophy. So I guess the answer is yes and no. I have the goals written down, but I don't, and I still call them goals, but I don't worry about it. If I don't get it done because I was spending time with Simon,
mm-hmm.
that's all right. If I don't get it done because I chose to read a book instead, then that's all right. I just have to be careful not to allow it to distract me, not to get totally distracted on stuff that doesn't matter, avoiding something that I don't want to do.
Yeah. That's, I guess that's kind of a little bit of what I've done, because I went from just being all over the place to now really just focusing on doing like a couple of things every day.
Yeah.
Like I want to work out. I want to make sure that I exercise every day.
Yeah.
I want to play my bass. I want to make sure that I do a writing exercise, because I intend on writing songs, taking my poetry and turning them into songs. So and I also have, writing. So writing, playing bass, exercising, being a good father.
Yeah.
Like those are, and meditating. I'm back to meditating again, which really has been pretty awesome. So, that's kind of what I've been doing as well, oddly enough, which I guess is like the natural progression, because, both you and me, and I would say many others, we get really overwhelmed with all these things that we should be doing or we could be doing. And, the truth is your brain moving at the speed of light is always asking you to do more than you possibly could, because your body only moves as fast as it moves. So, your brain can really trick you in that way, and that, you should be doing this, so I like the idea of coming down to, like I was reading something, I forget the guy's name, but he said, he was talking about business, right? He said that for business, like you should have 3 principles or goals or core ideas, metrics, I think metrics. So it's like 3 metrics that pertain to the success of your business, 3 to 4. And I thought, well, that's really applicable across a life as well. To know your 3 metrics. Like, what is your thing that if you hit these 3 marks, like you're talking about, so I'm talking about, if you hit these 3 or 4 marks, then you will be moving towards success.
Yeah.
Then you get really hung up on what success is. Because I just saw CLS 63 yesterday, and right then I felt like success was at CLS 63.
Yeah.
It's a Mercedes CLS 63. So I guess you have to define what success is, or be aware of what your definition of success is.
Yeah.
Because clearly my wife's definition of success and my definition of success is really different. She's more about the simpler, less monetary things. And oddly enough, my definition of success is to make sure that I'm making enough money that she can go out and get her nails done whenever she wants to, or her eyebrows waxed, or whatever, which drives this feeling that I need to be doing more. I need to be building towards a greater influx of money, which...
What's the difference between a lot of money and steady money? That's the first question. And then the other question is, what do you want your tombstone to say? or if you don't have a tombstone, what is one sentence that, if somebody was to describe Bryan Forsythe after you pass away, what would be that one sentence? And then what's the difference between fulfillment and success? Three questions, go.
Well, on my epitaph, I would like for it to say, "He did the best he could."
No, it can't be that simple. It has to be specific.
Huh?
Be specific. Did
Be
the best
specific. He lived his life in such a way that everyone who knew him sorry that he's gone. Is that more specific? I don't know.
What would it say about your life? Like, have you tried to write your own obituary?
Oh, I have not.
Try that. That's interesting.
What was your other question? What's the difference between success and fulfillment?
Yeah, that's one difference between success and fulfillment. Because I asked that because some people are chasing success, or they're going for success, and like you said, for you, success is one thing, and for me, it's something different. For your wife, it's something different. For Roxanne, something. For everybody, anybody can define success. If I say, well, I'm already successful to the point I want to be, now I'm looking for fulfillment, meaning that I want, that fulfillment feeling that I've developed myself or developing other people, whatever makes me feel fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been hearing a lot of people talk about how they hit success, whatever their version of success was, but then when they got there, they realized that all that great.
Right. They weren't fulfilled. They were just successful.
And so they hit that. And then some people will crash and burn after that because they expected everything to be perfect at that point, and it wasn't, and it's not going to be. You already know. We know that. But so they were crushed by that. Oh, I was successful, but it wasn't what I wanted. Or they just never stopped going for, okay, I made it to this point of success. Now, what's the next point? They just keep looking for a new point of success, but they're never happy. They're never fulfilled. So that's kind of what I'm talking about in that area.
Yeah, the question is it more important to be successful or fulfilled?
Yeah, for you.
Right. And I would say that the hope is that the two are not mutually exclusive. That my instance of success is fulfillment. That what I do that makes me successful or has me successful also leaves me fulfilled. I mean, I see this crack the depression code thing that I'm doing, which it's kind of, the truth is I feel like it needs to be me out there talking to people, like in a face-to-face like we did with the Crack the Depression Code seminar. I feel like that's really what's necessary to drive, that being on the internet and writing blogs and like that's good, and that'll be useful. As soon as I'm done with like 10 blog posts, I'll probably put all that together and it'll be like an ebook or something, and then, or something like that. Maybe I'll do an audiobook. I don't know. But when I get to Virginia and I'm able to spend more time not going to sea.
That's
huh?
Big chunk of your mind and your time. I got it. Yeah, that one is sure.
But I see that that is going to open a lot of doors for me, and my hope is that my goal, I guess if I have one goal, It's that I'm able to help people, deal with depression better, and that also leaves me successful and also fulfilled. Helping people with that, spreading, helping people with my story, and that'd be really awesome to have that as having a life, that I spent all my time. Yeah.
So it just makes me think. So I've heard some people talk about, like, you never know what to do, and maybe I don't know what to do here and there. So the one thing that I've been able to do with this podcast is it's been the one thing that's been consistent. And what I see coming from that is people, it's leading me down a path somewhere, right? So I pick this one thing, and then so we do this podcast, and then maybe tomorrow or the next day I'll sit and listen to it, and I'll mine out all the stuff that I think is important, and I'll post it, and people will listen to it or not, and they'll mine out their own things. But what's that one thing you could do that you say to help people deal with depression? What's that one thing you could do now that is consistent without worrying about all the list building and everything else? Like, kind of work that one thing, and then let the other things as you meet more people, you start building your list, and as your list gets built, then you're not focusing on that. But you're focused on that one thing that can help people deal with depression.
I guess, like, the number one thing that I'm doing is just every week, either one newsletter or two newsletters that, talk about, different things. Last week it was, recognizing all the steps that you've, like, did you read the newsletter? Did you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so
about steps, but
just doing every week, just having a newsletter that comes out and says, think about this. Basically, don't let the the voices in your head drive you crazy. Basically,
yeah.
Not talking specifically about depression, but just about feeling the worth and the magic, how awesome it is that you're breathing, and that we're an amazing space and capable of so many different things, and sometimes we can forget, because depression and all of your mental challenges tends to make us forget all that, minimalize everything to the point where everything that we do is always marginalized, because of the mental checks and balances. Because there is a checks and balance. I mean, because the other side is that you're a megalomaniac and everything you do is the most awesome thing in the world. And so there is something to be said for the natural check and balance in our brains. But I feel like if you're not paying attention,
Sometimes it goes overboard.
Yeah, and a lot of times, to the point where anything you do, it's always, that's not good enough. That's not as good as that guy,
Yeah.
And like, I had a friend, I talk about this in one of the blog posts I had a friend, his name is Dave, and he's the best drummer I've ever seen in my life. Like, that wasn't like on stage somewhere. I mean, he was amazing. He was like 18 years old when I met him, and he was a crazy badass drummer. And but he took no joy in his drumming because he was always chasing after, Elvin Jones and Tony Williams, and these cats are like long dead. Buddy Rich, I mean, he was always chasing these ghosts. And I told him, I'm like, If they were here today, they would tell you that that is not serving you, because they weren't about that. You don't live your whole life giving back to the people, which is what music at its, greatest expression is, and not ever feeling the love for yourself. And how awesome it is to be able to play drums or be able to paint or, whatever it is. Not to live your life chasing these ghosts, but if you don't pay attention, your mind will tell you that that's the pursuit, to, be better than people that are long dead. So you're chasing ghosts and mirrors. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, you gotta. That's like, you ever hear somebody say, "Well, I'm going to be the next Tony Robbins, or I'm going to be the next this or that," and then they're saying, "No, don't be the next me. Be yourself."
Mhm. Yeah, that's. Because that's really the only solution. Anybody who's anybody will tell you that the only option is be yourself. Figure out who that is, and do that as best as you can.
Right. Yeah. Because then you're gonna truly find fulfillment that way as well. That's why I'm finding that one thing. I want to find the one instantly, and other things will come along, other tasks, other events, other thing. Before I did this, then I always say Toastmasters was that consistency that I had every Monday, and that led to me meeting other people that, like-minded people that wanted to help others, which included me, and were willing to, listen to me and let me help them where I could help them. So it was a mutually beneficial thing, and so that one consistency that led. I think maybe sometimes people get caught up in want it to happen now, so that they, and I'm guilty of this as well. I keep thinking this is going to be the thing that'll do it. This is going to be the thing that'll do it. I want $5,000 a month, so I need to figure out how to get that $5,000 a month. But that's not the real fulfilling thing. Why do I want the $5,000 a month? Well, I can pay my debt off. Why do I want to pay my debt off in a year so that I can have that off my chest? Why do I want that off my chest or my shoulders so that I can be happy, right? So I can be fulfilled. What will make you happy or fulfilled? Getting rid of the debt? No. But not having that on my mind. Why can't you just get rid of it on your mind? So I can keep on going to the bottom until I get to that one thing that I'm looking for. So that tells me that if I just work on one thing at a time and let other things come into the basket as they naturally flow, then I'll be much better at it. But it's going to take a longer time, or I don't even have to worry about time. I just have to worry about doing those one things and feel successful at this point, and then also feel that I'm doing fulfilling work when I help people, when I smile at people, when I talk to people, when I, listen to somebody, which is one of my big things I have to work on.
Listening?
Yeah, listening.
Yeah. I have, I think that's a common thing with a lot of us, like being able to slow down and listen to people and not, and not think that we know what or they're going to say, or, because I'm bad about that. Like I tend to do that.
Just being present.
Yeah. Yeah. I have talked to a few people, because I belong to, got to be 30 different groups, one type or the other. And, somebody popped in and they were talking about the to have an MLM business. And I was talking to him about some of the concepts of how you get past the point where people really aren't appreciative whenever they think it's MLM, man. You're on an uphill climb right there. You have to just sort of start with that. Most of your people that right now are not going to be interested in anything having to do with anything that starts with an M and sounds like, M&M.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to this girl about, how to think about being successful with MLM. And so it's a challenging concept, because you're dealing with somebody's ignorance, and it's really hard to break through that or educate that.
But most people that, sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
People, when they're, even me included, when I hear MLM, at first they're thinking, oh yeah, I can make, because they preach the money. I can make $2,000 a month. People come into it thinking that that's what they're going to do, and it takes years to build that up for 90% of the people. There's very few that start off instantly great. I've had, interestingly enough, I've had a few of my friends come from the past contact me because they know I'm into the business and stuff. It's pretty out there on if you just see Facebooks and stuff. But they call me like, hey, can I talk to you about my business? I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I want to hear about it. I want to hear everything I can. I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but let's hear what you have. And they're used to hearing that part. I'm not saying I'm going to do it. What they're not used to hearing, I think, is that I let them go all the way through it, and I listen to it intently and see what it's like. And then, like, well, no, I'm not going to do that. Or what I've just started recently doing is, hey, I'm not taking on anything new. So I've had investment, I've had the cards, I've had the and the funny thing is, these friends, they call me up, right? They're all like, hey, man, haven't heard from you for a long time. And they talk to me a lot about me and everything else going on. And then, it might be 2 or 3 phone calls in, and then they pitch this to me. And then when I tell them no, I don't hear from them anymore.
Oh, no.
It's the weirdest thing. They take all the time to build that relationship back up, after catching up and everything. And then, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Think of the word try, or when you hear the word try, what do you think about that word?
I think about Yoda. I'm serious. Like, yeah. Like, I think about Yoda. I think about, when you say you're going to try something, you've already admitted defeat.
Yeah.
And if you went around every day and just counted the number of times that you're going to say that you say try, I think there's power in words. I actually have a blog post I haven't put up yet, but I mean it's out there, but it's not on Crack the Depression Code. And the gravity that words assume, and what the words mean or whatever, and if you just went around in a day or a week and just counted the number of times that you said try, or pick another word, that you really want to concentrate on, you may be surprised at how many times, and how prevalent that mindset is, that we all walk around with this understanding that we're already defeated before we even start. That's kind of what try says. I'm going to try it.
Yeah, Les Brown is a nice way to say I'm not going to do it. If you say to somebody, hey, are you going to make it to the meeting? Well, I'll try. That's a polite way of saying, no, I'm not going to make it.
No way.
That's one that I ask everybody because I want to see the difference in opinions and what people think. So if you go listen to Steve Matley, he brings up Yoda as well, and he has a different, word. He has a different side of that word. So that's why I like seeing what different people think about. I think it'd be cool to try and write a book about the word. Yeah.
I feel like I'm probably going to actually, this week's newsletter may be on the word try.
Well, he wrote right after I asked him that, he wrote a blog about it and put it on LinkedIn. So if you go to my new YouTube, which I don't know if I've even told anybody about.
I think you put it on Facebook.
Yeah, if you go listen to Steve Matley or look at his show notes, I put the in the show notes on here. I have the link to his, and so if you go to that blog, you'll see it on there.
So how's your list coming along?
Well, it's not. I'm not focused on the list, but the people that I interview are potentially people that will at some point either follow me, right, or follow along or go along with me, or will Steve Matley and John Richardson they said we really enjoyed your interview because of the style that you asked questions and you let us talk and you listened and you had feedback and you fed into other questions. They really enjoyed it. Well, they do a podcast together too. So they know people, and so they hear the questions, they know me, they get to know me more. I get to know them better. Well, they pass along maybe to somebody at some point. Hey, Matt, this works. Looking for people to interview, or he does this. He helps people. My main focus now has been developed into transitioning personnel. People from the military or career to career. So I'm still doing my one consistent thing. So how's my list coming? The answer is it's coming as it is, but I don't have anybody on a list yet. But I have, I think, 6 or 7 interviews done. And then it's up to me to cultivate those people. One of the people I interviewed was passed on to me by my sister. Mm-hmm. She said, hey, after I interviewed her as a massage therapist, and she said, hey, you need to interview my friend Brian Hayes, who's a personal trainer, and he was also in the Army for 10 years. He got a DUI, and then he was a mate. He got a DUI, and instead of, he faced the civilian consequences to it, but...
Oh, yeah, I think you told me about him.
So I got to meet him. So somebody else that I got to meet, and so I just get to meet these people. The problem is that, like I said, I've fallen off. I was on a good pace of one person per week, and then I just, with everything happened over the summer, I let that distract me. So now I'm working on getting back on that track again. But I've been turned down too. People are like, no, I don't want to be interviewed, or some people just. One guy told me he wants to be interviewed. Well, Toastmaster, but then just before it happened, he called me and said, hey, I can't do it. And I was like, all right, no problem. And then we set up another one, and he said he can't do it.
So, it doesn't sound like you want to do it.
Instead of just telling me I don't want to do it, he's playing this game, But it's all right. I just keep on looking for, I keep just doing it. I'm waiting for my other sister. She's into numerology and astrology. I think it'd be really interesting to interview her. Well, not only that, it gives me content, so I get somewhat of a list building, which I don't care about the stupid list. I care about the content because I want to be better at building content. Because if I just have a list, then I feel pressured to make content. So then that becomes my priority over just being happy and living and being able to help people. I then start to stress about the content. What am I going to do? I got to do this. And it starts to consume me. So I've learned myself that list is not important to me. The list will be built over time as I learn more about how to build content that people can learn from and grow from. But by doing this is building a list of people that are along with me. Ray Rogers, software tester. He's a speaker and a trainer. Naveen Samuels, and there's other people that I have down that I've known in the past that are entrepreneurs or businessmen and management, people that interview others for jobs and stuff like that. That's who I'm working with here. So that's why I'm helping me stay consistent and build a foundation, and eventually it's going to lead to more people knowing me, and then right now I'm just known as the chief in the Navy. So I'm transitioning out of that myself through this process. Because the chief in the Navy doesn't mean anything to people out there,
Right. Yeah. Not really.
It means here, and I see it every day. These people that are just attached to their rank or their their position. You see it too. So that these guys are just attached, and they're and that's who I want to help. Is that person, those mindsets, the mindset of those people that are just stuck on that kind of thing, and saying, hey, you don't have to be the chief coming out of the Navy. You can take all that stuff and use it. It's useful, and maybe that being that chief can open the door. Maybe it can get your foot in the door. Maybe it won't, though. Maybe it'll get your foot out the door.
Get out of here, chief.
Yeah, because there's some there that don't like chiefs because of the way they were. So if you try and use that, well, I was a chief out there, and it's like, well, good, chief, because I'm the CEO.
Right.
It's beat down by words or whatever.
And now I'm going to show you the DOR.
Yeah, and I try and help people too. I help people. Like at where I work now, the guy was devastated. He didn't make chief. He set his life up to make chief. That's his whole goal in life, right? I'm like, okay,
right.
That's a great goal. I think it's awesome. But what does it take to be a chief? And he was telling me all these things. So I say, okay, what does it take to, be a supervisor or a boss out in the civilian world? It tells me the same things, right? Like, oh, okay. So work on those skills. You can't control if you become a chief, but you can control the skills that you gain. You could do all the things that you could save the president, and they still might not pick you as a chief. It's not, because it's not based on none of that. I don't know what it's based on still.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say what the heck it's built.
I don't even pick some people. I don't even know why they picked me. What was it about my stuff that they said there's going to be a good chief? I don't know.
That's one of the actual things that give me hope for the Navy, that they picked you as chief.
Well, thanks, but I don't know what the heck they were thinking.
Well, that's a good response to mesh with some of the chiefs that I know that are of questionable integrity, usefulness, just bad people with chief anchors, just bad people.
Oh yeah.
Or the other side, which is, how in the heck did you make chief? How did you make chief? Like, if you're like me as a chief, like if they gave me chief anchors, it would be me and you. Like, we would be But I know that I'm not ready to be a chief. So if they were like, hey, we're gonna make you chief, I'd be like, I don't think I'm ready for that. You know? And then there are these people that are walking around and they have chief anchors, and you're like, I'm not sure you're ready for that. No.
But that's the thing is, we're looking at it from that standpoint, from a little bit, different kind of mature standpoint. This guy was just crushed. This is his last chance. He has one more chance, and so I'm kind of coaching him and talking with him about, well, instead of focusing on you got to make chief, and I said I understand why, because you want to make chief as a goal, that's your life goal, or whatever, but you don't control it. But what happens if you don't make chief? You got to get out. So don't you think you might want to kind of focus on some skills and things that you need necessary? Because it's easy to transition from where he's at now to be a chief. He's just got to go through that 6 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
Some things start to make some sense, and other things still don't make sense for a year. But he can still stay in the Navy, which is what he wants to do. But if he doesn't make chief, he has to get out. So he
has a year before he's out?
Just like I was, I'd say if you all your energy into, I want to be a chief. What do I need to do to be a chief? What do I need to be a chief? To be a chief. Time comes, you have no control over it. They don't pick you. Now you got 3 or 4 months till you got to get out. You've put all your eggs in this chief basket, which you didn't have any control of in the first place. Now what are you going to do? So I think I got him thinking a little bit about that side of it, which is my whole thing, is just to at least focus on what you don't know. You don't know how to be a civilian. You don't know how to get out and get a job. And he wants to own a tow truck company. So what does it take to own a tow truck company? That's what you should be focusing on right now. And then guess what? You make chief next year. All the skills that you learned trying to learn to build this tow truck company or whatever, then it is all transferable to being a chief.
Yep.
It's not the other way. And I just don't like it when people focus everything on that. I don't like it for them because they don't have.
Yeah, it's not a good step to like you were walking the line. You kept both feet in. You have one side doing your chief stuff. If you make chief, you're still working on your air, and then I felt like that was what put you over the top, because they look at you and were like, so he's done all this stuff, and he's on his last look, and he just got air. Like this guy wants it.
Well, that's just that. But even if I didn't pick up chief, getting the airpin itself wouldn't really matter, right? But all the fact that I think you can appreciate it. The fact that I'm willing to go ahead, like you just said, and go ahead and just do this. I'm educating myself, and I'm taking another step towards personal and professional development, that piece of it will help me in the real world out here, and being able to do other things, So
right.
That's I want people to understand, and that's part of my mission in this Life's Wealth Development Group, is to be able to help military people that are focused solely on staying in the military, not because they really are good at it and they like it, but because they think they have to. Or the other person is the STG that's in the in the Navy that thinks that they have to, in order to be happy or fulfilled, they're going to have to get an STG job. Some working still while be a contractor, even though they hate it, they're still going to go out and focus on that because it's comfortable for them. Well, I wanted to know that, okay, that might be comfortable, but go ahead and do that. But you're going to hate your life for the next 20 years while you're a contractor. You're going to just do the same thing and be complaining about how contracting sucks and the government sucks and your job sucks and being on a ship sucks. So I got it, like, as I move towards retirement again, I'm looking at where I'm a little more prepared now as far as I got my, completed my degree now. So I got certain things that I didn't have then. I'm working at CS debt, which is not something I want to do with the rest of my life. But if I'm working on this other stuff on the side, I knew what I wanted to do was teach or train or instruct, so it would fulfill that one part of being an instructor. I enjoy going on the ships and all that. I still enjoy the Navy, so if I was to get out and become a contractor, it would be for short term as I transition. You know what I mean? It would still bring in about the same amount of money that I'm making now. So there's benefits because I have a family and I have to continue to provide for them. And so I need that set of stability there. But I'm going into it knowing that. But that's like out of 3 things that I would do, that's number 3. It's like a tertiary. If I don't, this is where I'm working into. If that doesn't work, then I have this thing under it that I'll just fall right into it. And if that one falls through, I'll just fall into this one. But I'm working on Matt Ditchworth and my skills, putting together a good, fulfilling life so that when I walk into places, they got no choice but to hire me either to come in and consult and be a trainer at their company or to hire me to sweep the floors or whatever they need done.
Well, I'm not sure how good of a floor sweeper you're going to be, man.
I forget out.
Feel like you might need some instruction on that. Although my division officer actually will grab up a broom or a mop. He used to be a chief. He's like what a lot of us wish officers were, especially the ones that used to be enlisted, because it seems like officers that used to be enlisted would be better officers. But in a lot of instances, they're worse officers in the way that they deal with people, in the way that they, it's like they still feel that, like, how did I get here? They don't feel like they belong, or, they're still fighting that, trying to figure out whether they actually are, deserving or, whatever.
Yep.
They're still fighting that within them or something. It's really weird. So a lot of times that means that they, are even more of a pain to work with than, other people would be, because they, just haven't come to terms with the fact that they, they're not like enlisted anymore. They're, it's weird. But, well, I gotta get going. Wifey's, we're up to, afternoon tummy time, I think.
Yeah, all right.
Go hang out with the wife. But well, this has been fun, man. We've talked about, and I've talked to other people about, working with one another and like sharing our stuff, and that just doesn't ever work out. So not right now, but like over the course of the week, think about why me and you and other people have talked about this, these like-minded people come together and like
Matt
do
Ditchworth,
something.
and I want to thank you all for tuning in.
Like me, like what I do.
Thank you for the
what
guest
you do.
today. All valuable, great information. Remember to tune in next week as we bring you another guest
totally different
here on Life's Wealth Radio.
You're doing your thing, and I'm doing my thing.
It's my
and I'm just
goal to
wondering,
offer
like,
you valuable information. So
next
please
weekend,
comment below and let us know how you feel and what kind of information you're looking for in your transition.
Never really done that.
Many people out there that have already transitioned or who are in a position that you may be looking to go to and could
put out
maybe benefit from some of their
one of these boards or whatever, like, hey, I'm looking for
maybe on a
like-minded people to come together. And those almost always fail.
Through the hard way, maybe you can learn it through them.
I'm just curious.
So take it easy. Have a great night. And again, thank you for your valuable time.
Why?
Tune in next week. I'll see you. Have a great day.
Even when it would make sense.
Bye.
Those things just never happen. you know, because it would make it easier for me, it would make it easier for you. We could even come together and like do one thing together, you know, in some way or the other. But for the most part, your knowledge sphere and my knowledge sphere are completely separate. I don't know any of the people that you know, and I actually don't know anybody except for people that are on the internet.
Yeah, that's a good thought process to think about.
Yeah, so I think I'll do the this week's newsletter on this concept of word gravity and you know, what are some of the words that you use, not you said, but the metaphorical or the euphemistic you. You know, I'll probably get that together here later on today and get that out.
Check out that